Happy holidays. It's time to Rightsize with Janine Bryant of Changing Spaces SRS. Every Sunday morning here on KFOR, Janine shares her experiences helping people right-size. Good morning, Janine.
Good morning, Dale. Hello.
Listeners, we all can see Thanksgiving from here, and Christmas is right behind. So when you talk with members of your family, it will be a different method this year. It's not the get-togethers. It's the phone call and the video conferencing. When that happens, ask how the kids and the grandkids are doing. Those are the usual questions. And when you get past those, then catch up on family matters. And the suggestion coming from this morning's conversation is talk about the future. Looking ahead to 2021. For many, it will be a year to change spaces.
Absolutely.
And right size.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the end of the year is always kind of a chance where people just naturally tend to reflect, right? They reflect on the past year, and then they think about the future and what will the future bring. And so at Changing Spaces SRS, when we're helping seniors downsize and move, boy, I can tell from my 10 years of experience doing this, the transition goes so much smoother when everyone's on the same page, right? And so what we always encourage people to do around this time of year is to have those important conversations. And the holiday time is a great time to do that, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas. And of course, like you said, this year, those gatherings are going to look very different. But even if it is just a phone call or a Zoom or a video chat, this is a time to, reach out to your family members. You're going to be speaking with them anyway. You might as well touch on some of these important topics. And I've got a few suggestions to think about. So one suggestion that you might want to think about is whether or not you have a special memento that you'd love to pass on to your children or your grandchildren or nieces, nephews, other family members. Now's the time to do it. And here's how you do it. It's a little sneaky, okay? But sometimes people are worried, oh, my kids don't want my stuff. Well, I tell them, if there's something that you really, really want to pass on to someone, wrap it up as a holiday gift and give it to them at holiday times.
Excellent.
Sneaky, right? I mean, they would be pretty bold to return or reject such a gift. So if you've got something that really is very important, it's a family memento, and you know that you intend to pass that family memento on, now's the time to do it. And you can make it into an extra special holiday gift by writing a little story or the significance of the item to go with it. You could make a recording, an audio recording or a video recording explaining why, this antique trunk from your grandmother is important, and put a bow on it and give it to your family members. And if you are planning to do that around Christmas time, we're coming up on Thanksgiving, and if your family, if you want to be extra COVID conscious, you could even wrap that item up now and put it in another room, and then you're kind of quarantining that item. It's sealed in a box for a couple weeks, and then it's safe to pass on to your family members, and then they can open it at Christmas time. Here's another thing to think about. Are you planning a move in the next year? So in November of 2021, where will you be? Wouldn't we all know that? Or wouldn't we all like to know that, right? But where would you like to be at the end of next year? Do you see yourself spending another year in your current home? Or do you see yourself downsizing, maybe making life a little bit easier, moving to a townhome or an apartment or a retirement community? And if that is kind of in the back of your mind, and maybe you haven't made the decision yet, but maybe you and your spouse are just starting to discuss it, now's the time to bring the adult children into that conversation. Because, I mean, that is with any change and any transition, it takes all of us a little bit of time to wrap our brains around that. And so adult children, too, they're going to need some time to adjust to the fact that maybe mom and dad are moving out of that house that they've been in for 40 years. That's going to be a whole new transition. So now's the time to have that conversation as you're touching base over the holidays, and maybe even discuss your options and just keep communication open so that everyone is on the same page. And if you are thinking about moving, again, it takes a while to figure out exactly where is the right spot for you. And so you don't have to have it all figured out. You can just kind of mention to your family members that this is a journey that you're starting to go down. Another thing to think about bringing up in your family discussions this holiday season are any items that you are no longer using in your home that could be put to good use by a family member. Right? If you have kids or grandkids or nieces and nephews who are setting up a home or an apartment for the first time, now is a great time to go look through your house and your closets and cupboards and see how some of your excess could bless them. Okay, if you have extra dishes, extra kitchenwares, extra sheets and towels, maybe an extra hide-a-bed in the basement that no one sits on anymore, these are the kinds of things that you can bless your family members with. So if any of your family members have transitions coming up in the next year, now's a great time to talk about that. You know, hey, I've got a couple of twin beds that I'd love to give to my granddaughter, you know, next year when she moves into that new house with her new husband. So just some of those things. Yard tools, that's another good thing, you know, if you're going out into your garage. And maybe you're raking the leaves this fall and you vowed to yourself, this is the last year that I'm going to have to struggle with these leaves. Maybe that has been part of your decision on making the decision to move to an easier location. These are the kinds of things that you can open up to the family members. Hey, Mom and I are going to be moving to a townhome next year. And so, boys, if you have use for any of these yard tools or any of my woodworking tools down in the shop or whatever, just to kind of put that bug in their ear, to plant that seed so that they know in the next couple of months, those decisions are going to have to be made. And if they could make good use of those items, that they should come over and get them. And then one last thing that I would encourage people to discuss during this holiday season is any of that kid clutter that you might be storing for your children who are not children anymore, but they're grown adults, right? Any listeners out there, you might be able to relate. Maybe you are storing items for your grown adult children that have maybe been sitting in your house for a few decades. And if you are planning a move, or even if you're not planning a move, but you're just looking to right size and declutter a little bit, now is a great time to gently bring up to your kids, okay, you know, those 4 boxes of stuff in our basement, why don't you come over and get them? Or let's go through them, or let me go through them and tell you what's in there, and then you can decide if you want them or not. Because it's time to let it go and get it out of your house.
Giving the adult children the option of receiving it rather than just say, here's a box of your stuff in the 6th grade.
Yes.
Now it's yours.
And you could do either one, okay, as long as it gets out of your house. So absolutely, give them the option. Say, do you want this? Because chances are they won't. They won't want it. If they do say that they want it, great. Go ahead. You can drive by their house. You don't have to go in, drop it off at their front door, ring the bell, and run away. Right?
Drive by.
Anything that you have to do to get the stuff out of your home, because I think that, you know, stuff tends to have an entropy of its own, and when it sits in one spot and it's been there for years or decades, it becomes heavy and it becomes even harder to move. So we got to kind of break through that barrier and jump over that hurdle and get stuff out. And boy, once you get going and rolling, it's going to feel so good. You're just going to keep going.
The foundation of everything you've said, though, in my opinion, is to take away the element of surprise.
Absolutely.
To spring it on them during an occasion. To say, here are 4 boxes of your stuff. Dad and I are moving. Or just that announcement of Dad and I are moving.
Yeah.
One question might be, what's wrong?
Right, absolutely.
Is it your health? And then you go down that rabbit hole. You don't want to do that to
Yes.
your kids. You say it's just that time of our life. The house is too big. The chores are too many.
Yep. And if this is the house where your children grew up, it will be just as much of a transition for them as it is for you. And so just to know that and acknowledge that and to tiptoe into this conversation slowly. But boy, I tell any adult children that I meet with that who have parents who are making the conscious decision to move proactively, boy, you're lucky. Because I have experienced in my own family and with other clients, parents who don't want to move and the kids have to make the move for their own safety. And boy, that's such a much more difficult situation. And so when your parents are being proactive and making that choice, it really is the best thing for everyone.
And through your eyes at Changing Spaces, that's a tougher relationship, isn't it? When the mom and dad or the mom or the dad don't want to move.
You never want to take anyone kicking and screaming. Yeah, absolutely. And they're their own adults. And so the adults get to make their own decisions. However, sometimes when there's dementia or when there really is a physical ailment that makes it unsafe for them to be there, then sometimes those kids have to make those hard decisions and say, Mom and Dad, you have to move. My father did that with my own grandparents. And I remember specifically, I was a child at the time, but I remember how hard that was on him. But, my grandfather was the caregiver for my grandmother, and he was getting weaker and he could no longer lift her. And all it would take was for one of them to fall down and it would be a disaster. So those kind of situations are difficult. So when someone's making a proactive move, it's always for the best.
Oh, but your staff, they're skilled at that. At that situation where I don't want to give that away. I don't want to give that away. And pretty soon you have given very little away.
Right.
in the downsizing. And the whole effort of calling you in at Changing Spaces is to downsize, right-size.
That's right. That's right. So we do our best to guide them through that transition smoothly and to take only what they really need and enough of what they want to make their new home comfortable.
More of Changing Spaces services at changingspacessrs.com. Free right-sizing tips, easyrightsizing.com. There are auctions.
That's
you still
right.
have auctions?
Yes, we have actually moved to only online auctions for now, for the foreseeable future, rather than doing any in-person estate sales. So feel free to visit our website and shop at those online auctions.
changingspacessrs.com. There's a /auctions, and of course there's Facebook and Instagram, and of course your first choice to join us here every Sunday morning on Easy Rightsizing.